The attack on religious freedom. We always think about it being down the road, but it's happening right now before our eyes. This is Randy Osborne with Florida Eagle Forum.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Worldview Truth. On December 1st, the U.S. Senate passed a bill, H.R. 8404, called the Respect for Marriage Act. That is a far cry from a respect for marriage. That's what liberals do. That's what evil people do, is they will name a bill that is completely opposite from what it really is. You see, H.R. 8404, as it was written and passed, forces every state to honor marriage laws in the other state. I'll give you an example of that. California has marriage laws that legalizes child brides. And let me make that a little more clear. California has legalized pedophilia marriages, which, for example, 40 and 50-year-old men have married elementary age children. And this is already going on as we speak. As this bill is written, if you have an issue with pedophilia, you can be sued, or if they actually create to have a child escape, the state can come after you. If you oppose same-sex marriage, in Section 5 of this bill, the Attorney General has the right to enforce this bill and the right of private action also to enforce this bill. You see, folks, this is an attack on conservatives, decent Americans, churches, private schools, and individual Christians. They will either force you to conform to these atrocities by financially coming after you, or churches, or they can even throw you in jail. If a business owner opposes the lifestyle by refusing to support that lifestyle, they could actually bankrupt the organization. Now, there is a religious liberty amendment in this bill, and it basically states that religious nonprofits cannot be forced to offer any services, facilities, or goods or celebrations of a particular marriage that the religious institution doesn't agree with. But the amendment only deals with the ceremony itself, without protecting the rights of religious charities to uphold their faith on any other policy involving marriage. So, for example, if an LGBT couple shows up in your church and asks for membership, there's nothing in this bill that would protect the church or institution. This amendment also does nothing to protect the religious rights of individuals. This bill now is past the Senate, and it must go back to the House, but it appears that it will have the votes for that. In the Senate bill, Senator Cruz offered an amendment that would actually close the child marriage loophole, but it failed. Now, folks, that is absolutely sick. It's the most disgusting and vile a legislator could intentionally prevent the protection of an innocent child. There were 3 other senators that offered amendments to this bill that would have protected the religious freedom, but all those were defeated. There were 12 Republican senators who voted for this terrible bill. One of them was Roy Blunt. Let me tell you who Roy Blunt is. He's actually the co-chair of the Congressional Values Action Team. That was, quote, this is in their bylaws, the action team is dedicated to advancing pro-life and pro-family policies in Congress. Another of those co-chairs that also voted for this bill, Republican, was Johnny Erst. And she is also a co-chair of this very same organization. I'm going to give you some other senators. Richard Burr of North Carolina, Shelley Moore of West Virginia, Susan Collins of Maine, Cynthia Loomis, Wyoming, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Rob Portman of Ohio, and of course there's Mitt Romney. Now, Mitt Romney, during his 2008 presidential campaign, was opposed to same-sex marriage, but mysteriously he has changed his mind. Dan Sullivan of Alaska is another one. Thom Tillis of North Carolina, and also Todd Young of Indiana. H.R. 8404 is now back in the House, I have Ben Roberts on the phone. Now, Ben has been involved in education for a number of years. He is also a father, family of 7. And Ben, I just want to kind of get your take on this and the fears that you had. I saw that you had posted some information about it, and you're very, very concerned about it. And just kind of give me what your perspective is on this bill.
I cannot imagine a more wicked tool to undermine the family than what this bill is. I actually find myself fearful of what this will do to not just my family, but all families, not just Christians, but people that just have good morals that aren't religious necessarily. It absolutely is there to destroy marriage. And it's as if these senators and, well, Congress are both just under a wicked, wicked spell.
Yeah, I can't imagine. This is my frustration. I mean, you have Mitt Romney from Utah. Utah is, Mitt Romney is Mormon. And even their faith is very, very against something of this nature. But Mitt Romney, and again, back in 2008, he actually supported, or he was actually opposed to same-sex marriage. He was very, very pro-family, and other ones like that. And one of the things that they, from what I understand, is some of them, their justification was, well, there's a protection in there of religious liberty. And basically, it does protect churches from marriages. That's basically, or celebrations. So a church can be protected in that sense, but it does nothing else. Let's say an employee of a church came into that church and said, I want a job, and you interview the person, and you find out that the person is has a different lifestyle, for is LGBT. The churches refuse to employ them. Now we have a problem. And in this bill, basically, it gives the Attorney General basically the authorization to go after these organizations or people that do not conform to this particular bill. It is absolutely horrendous. And I just can't imagine, I can't imagine anybody voting for this, much less than we have Republicans voting for this.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think of this. What about the sexual predators list? Now, are all of those people now? Do we get rid of those lists because they're no longer sexual predators, but they're now what are they called? The minor attracted people,
There you go.
which is just trying to sanitize and yet again give a false cover or label for what they're doing. They're pedophiles.
Exactly.
And so for me personally, one could say that I am bent against homosexuals because I was molested at 12 years old, and so I've got a 12-year-old son now, and I'll tell you what, it's now I see with this bill where this is going is if I don't let the public schools or the or whoever says that they need to educate my child because that becomes a mandate ultimately. I mean, that's where all of this is going.
Right.
And that they get to educate my child, meaning they get to groom my child for their sexual pleasures. And so when they do that, then if I retaliate or I try to protect him from this, then guess what? I get consequences. That's what this bill means to me. It's consequences against moral people for protecting their children. And they're never going to be happy. They being the LGBTQ confused group of people, they'll never be content because they're against God's design. And anytime any of us, not just in a sexual way, but anytime any of us are against God's design, it doesn't go well. We're not content. We can't be content when we go against the great designer.
That's right.
And so what's going to happen is, let's go back. I remember in the 70s talking about the homosexuals and the homosexuals, they took on the label of gay. Gay used to mean happy.
Yep.
So they took on a false label. I have yet to meet a family member that is gay that I have. I've yet to meet other people that are gay that are happy at all.
Yeah.
They're discontent, and when they're and I have heard repeatedly on very frank, open conversations that they say, "Do you think I really want to be this way?"
Right.
And that's where I'm not attacking them, but I step back and I see what is happening in their lives, and they are anything but content. They're seeking for things that will make them content, like through marriage. Oh, if marriage was just recognized by the government, then we would be happy. Nope, didn't stop there, did it?
No.
But it just, there's a whole list of things that just keeps on going. So when will it stop? Will it stop after you've taken my child for your sexual gratification, that you've eliminated my rights completely and completely taken away anything that I've built in terms of assets, because the church that I went to, let's say now that building, that property belongs to whoever was affected that are insulted or hurt by us standing up with biblical values, saying one man, one woman, that's the design, that's God's plan. Oh, they're offended. Now that property all of a sudden is handed over by the courts to turn into whatever they're going to turn it into. Homes will be taken. This is not going to stop.
No, I don't think it is. This is what I was just blown away by. And Senator Cruz actually brought this up. This is one of the amendments that he actually offered that would actually close that marriage loophole gap of child marriage, is basically what it was going to do. But somebody could, and quite frankly, it's a pedophile. A pedophile goes and marries whatever that means in California, and then brings that child across state lines into another state, which there are laws, very, very strict felony laws, federal and state laws against that. This would actually legalize that. And if you had something to say about it, or if you had a problem with it, then you are the ones that's got the problem. This is unconscionable. I have never seen such a radical bill. And it is going to the House. I just want to let everybody know that it has not shown, the vote has not happened in the House yet. What happened about this bill is that originally, before Thanksgiving, this bill actually was passed by the House, and it went to the Senate. The Senate added some things to it and brought it back, and then now it's back to the House for a final vote. Here's the problem. This is a lame duck session, and the president and these legislators know that. And in that lame duck session, they know that the Republicans will be taking over the House. But the problem with this is this: if this passes the House and it's signed by the president, the Republicans do not have control of the Senate in January. They do not have the control, so they're not going to be able to reverse this in any way. And even if they were to reverse this with a Senate majority, which actually it takes a Senate majority plus 10 in the Senate to do this, but even if they did, the president would veto it because he is openly supporting this bill. So what I would ask you is this: it is back in the House. I would urge you to call your House members to urge them to vote no on this bill. It's H.R. 8404. It's time, quite frankly, and I'm just going to say this: it's time for the church in America to actually take a stand. Now's the time. Evil's coming, and it's because of the church and Americans have been complacent at this kind of thing. But now you know. We are going to sound this alarm. We're going to get this out as far as we can. Share this information. Share this video. I'm also going to have some, basically some white papers to support what we're talking about. Get it to your congressional people and warn them. Tell them that this cannot happen. This is the problem that this particular bill has. Because I think some of them are just absolutely, one of the things I heard one of the congressional people say, said, well, this is already law, and because the Supreme Court has made a decision on this, and all we're doing is just cleaning the books up. That is not the case here. Has nothing to do with that. Cleaning up the books is not actually putting in the bill that they have the opportunity and right, the Attorney General, to come after Christians. And that's exactly what they're doing, or come after families. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Christians. They're going to come after families that are opposed to this particular, honestly, evil thing that's happening before us. So that's what you can do. You can contact your Congress people and do it now. Do it now, because this thing is going to happen in the next few days. They're trying to get this done before Christmas, before the new Congress takes over in January. So please do that. And Ben, I appreciate you coming on and talking to you about it, and showing us your concern of what's going on here with this particular bill. Thank you, and God bless you.
Worldview Truth.